Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and welcome to this month's Four Horsemen build. The theme is street stock, and the casting is this Plymouth Duster. Dodge Duster? No, Dodge Demon Plymouth Duster. I'll get it right eventually. So yeah, this theme, I had to actually look it up. Everybody's definition is a little bit different, but I talked to Paul, this was his challenge, and he said pretty much just Google street stock, and I kind of went off of that. So I hope I'm pretty close to the theme of the build. If not, I apologize in advance. So obviously the first step is take it apart, kind of see what you're going with and what you have to deal with as far as pieces, parts. Overall, I have found these wheels. They're more like NASCAR. I think it was a NASCAR truck or something like that I found them on. They're plastic, they're not rubber, but I figured they'd fit pretty decent as far as what I was kind of going after. And to be honest with you, at this point, I didn't really know exactly what I was going after, but I do know the car sits a little high, so I'm just going to file out the holes that the axles sit in, which happens to be on the interior part. And obviously, the further up I go on that, the lower the car will sit. And like I've been doing on cars that have that option, I've been pretty much hacking the the base apart, mainly just keeping the front and rear sections so that I can try to keep the pins or the posts to be able to snap those parts on like that and eventually just screw them down. And that actually holds the interior in, and that gives me a little bit of flexibility as far as ride height and anything else I wanted to do. At this point, I'm still kind of playing around with an idea in my head. I didn't go crazy with this, or I don't think I went crazy with it, but excuse me. But overall, I'm kind of just putting things together to see where I'm at. A lot of the builds, or 90% of my builds, I fly by the seat of my pants. And it probably shows in the end result. But overall, after stripping it, I can kind of see what I'm dealing with. I also tapped the posts and drilled them and put my screws in, so that way I've got something to work with, and I don't forget to do it until after the car is painted like I usually do. Problem with your videoing stuff is you tend to forget steps, and you also forget to record steps, but you forget to do them as well. So it gets a little, every once in a while, I just get off on a tangent, and I only have so much time a day to do this, so I tend to forget things quite a bit, unfortunately. So I'm kind of stripping it, polishing it with the wire brush, getting all the paint or citrus strip residue and any paint out of the cracks. Then I'm going to hit it with some Scotch-Brite just to see the surface that I'm working with. Usually this is the stage where any casting imperfections show up, and then you can start hitting those with a file or sanding them down just to try to get whatever end result you're after. In this case, I've got these sanding discs, my Dremel. I want to take the door handles off, so this makes super quick work out of it. I believe they're 220, but they came in a kit. I think it has 180, 220, and maybe one other size, maybe 280. I'm not sure. 320, I think is what it was. So I'm just going to pretty much, since I've already got it on there, I'm just pretty much hitting any area that I think I see some imperfections, casting marks, anything that might show up without even after a thick coat of primer. And this had quite a bit, actually. Overall, it wasn't bad, and paint will cover most of it, but with this quick attachment on my Dremel, it just makes things life a lot easier. You just got to be careful because it's easy to go too deep, so I'm just putting very little pressure on it and trying to hit all the little areas that, they pump out thousands and hundreds of thousands of these things a year after year on some castings, so the mold gets pretty crappy, so casting lines are just part of the game. So I primed it white, mainly because of the colors I was going to go with. But I've got this thin brass sheet that I picked up at a local hobby store. actually owned by Mike's Mods and Customs, if you check him out on the YouTubes. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to make a rear spoiler for it, but I want it to be somewhat obnoxious, not like Fast and Furious type spoiler, but just an air dam to help keep the back end of the car down when it's going around those corners. But the brass is easier to work with than styrene when you're doing something like this, at least for me. It just makes things a little bit more flexible and not so once you're done, you're done. I can form this a little bit and I can have some flexibility with that. So that's on and primed. I also primed the front and rear under pieces where the bumpers are, and now I'm going to paint it some Hugger Orange from Splash Paints. So phase 2 is to paint it blue. These aren't Gulf colors. It's Hugger Orange and Petty Blue. So I'm not a big fan of the Gulf stuff, even though we do have a Four Horsemen build coming up like that. But I'm just using this masking tape. I'm going to pretty much mask off the hood, the roof, and the deck lid and rear spoiler. And this tape is really good. It's got some bend to it and some flexibility. So when you have like body lines, like where the hood meets the front fenders, you can kind of get in there and really seal it. So this is what I ended up with. Again, it's a Plymouth, so I decided to go. I had a bunch of random petty crap kicking around for decals, so I hemmed and hawed about figuring out which ones to put on there. And then it was off to the interior. Same thing, same size sheet, except it's aluminum. And what I'm going to do is, most race cars don't have back seats, but instead of making a whole new interior, I'm just going to cover it with the aluminum. Is it cheating? Yes. Am I going to get shit for it? Probably. But either way, it was my choice to do it this way. And I just thought it added something to it because, a street stock car with a back seat is just not something you'd see. Actually, I'm thinking about I got a Challenger, and I'm thinking about taking the back seats out of mine. And I don't want anybody in my back seat anyway, so. That means I have to talk to more people. So anyways, this worked out really well. Just formed it real quick. It's easy to work with. And then obviously you need some sort of a roll bar. I didn't go crazy with this. I just did the one behind the front seats. I'm using 1/16 aluminum tubing, and I'm just using a pair of pliers to form it. It will kink, but it's at that scale, you can barely see it, so you can see I'm accurately measuring everything. But overall, yeah, measure twice, bend once. Overall, this was a fun build. I was a little hesitant to get into it just because it didn't really, certain builds you start working on, you're like, yeah, and you get excited about it. This wasn't one of them. But once I started, I actually kind of got into it, and I actually finished this one early, even though I'm recording this voiceover the day before this video launches, because I have to be able to procrastinate at least something. Here I'm just painting the rear quarter windows silver, so it's like an aluminum look to it. And then now the big deal is to clear coat everything, clear coat over the decals, the front and rear. And this is what I ended up with as far as parts go. Overall, not too bad. I just kind of went with it. I have this really thick, I want to say it's 3/32, almost a 1/4 inch, black plastic stock that just came with the assortment bags. So now that it's all together, obviously because of the way I did the interior and the wheels, I need to fill a space. And I want to be able to put an exhaust on this anyways, so I needed to fill that gap. I knew I had this stuff kicking around. I could have built up some smaller, thinner pieces, but this stuff is dimensionally worked out perfectly. That never happens, so take it where you can get it. So I'm pretty much measuring, and I know that is a ruler. I do own one, but I have to measure shit at work all day, every day. So when I get home, sometimes I just don't want to bother, and I like winging it because I can't do it at work. So, but yeah, I'm pretty much measuring what I need to fill that space between the front wheels and the rear wheels. And this being a nice smooth black surface worked out really well, because that's pretty much, obviously, a race car. You want less drag underneath, so that's kind of why I did this. Plus it worked, and the stars aligned correctly and all that crap. So stuff's hard to break, but just use a pair of pliers and a couple scores and it works out really well. So after that's in, I did have to sand it down a little bit to get it to fit. I cut it just a bit big on purpose. Now I just take more of that aluminum tube and I'm just going to bend. I want this to come out before the rear wheels, so I'm just kind of putting a slight bend in it. I'm doing it by hand. Again, this is highly precision crap here, so make sure you follow along. But then I'm just going to take the end and I'm going to use a pair of pliers and bend it down so it looks like it's following into, where it's supposed to, where the engine would be sitting, and connecting to headers. And then it's just going to dump right out in front of the rear wheels. So I just need to get a measurement. And doing it once is easy because it doesn't really matter. But trying to match it on the second side, that's always the tough part. We used to build hot rods, and you'd French in some headlights or something, and I could always get one side, but getting the second side was a pain in the ass. So being able to duplicate something that you did is really hard. So pretty much just taking that, I'll glue those down lightly. But other than that, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell to get notified of all future videos. Next month's Four Horsemen build, and you guys are all welcome to join. The theme is flames. I think that's an auto or some sort of, I don't know what it is. But if you are participating, please email fourhorsemendiecast@gmail.com and make sure you subscribe to the Four Horsemen Diecast page. We can't hunt down everybody who participates, so that would be very helpful. This is the final product. I highly encourage you to check out all the Four Horsemen builds. They should be hashtag Four Horsemen. And there's going to be a ton of great builds. I've already seen some sneak pics of everybody's stuff. Make sure you check them out. Show them some support. If you like what you see, make sure you like and subscribe to their channels as well. And stay tuned to the Four Horsemen Diecast channel for the recap, where we highlight everybody's in case you missed one. Other than that, I hope you like what you see. Make sure you comment down below, and I will catch you on the next one.